Well, events happened that proved to me, and in my constant and all night, all day, all weekend studies, I just found too much evidence that that was not true. It was not a fact. And I'm a very scientifically oriented individual. I want hardcore evidence. Now, I always want to figure out philosophically why God would make it that way. But I want hardcore evidence to be supported, or hardcore evidence to be supportive of philosophy. And in this process, I began to take courses, do studies, read, etc. And one day it shocked me so when I came to the reality that nobody had given any consideration to what D.D. Palmer was doing before September the 15th, 18th, 1895. Nobody had given any consideration to his 5 years of healing people before then. Nobody had given any consideration into why he happened to give an adjustment and pop the bone, hearing return to Harvey Lillard. And it happened to pop into my head, that situation, and within almost 20 seconds after that, it popped into my head also the principle of the quality of the quantity. And I want to tell you, I didn't sleep for 2 days and 2 nights because that was a great principle revelation to me. It's a little bit like the theory of measuring the vertebral subluxations, adding up their millimeters of misalignment, and explaining to a patient that you need one adjustment for each millimeter of misalignment that's in that spine. That idea hit me when I was traveling from Corpus Christi to Houston one Sunday afternoon after opening my Corpus clinic. I had 18 of them. And after opening it on Sunday, I left there, and I was driving along up 115 miles an hour in my Coupe de Villiers Cadillac. And it happened to hit me, why don't I just add up the millimeters of misalignment in that spine and explain to the patient, and I was assuming this, explain to the patient that if they had 50 millimeters of misalignment in the spine, adding atlas down to coccyx, then they needed 50 adjustments. And I thought, boy, that's a great idea. I slowed down to 85 second gear. I pulled into Port Lavaca, Texas, and I got some gas, and I got an Alka-Seltzer and a Coke. I kept thinking about that. Well, this experience of the quality idea shocked me a great deal. Now, I'm going away around the barn to tell you this because I want you to realize the following things I want to institute as a method by which you now own not only as the chiropractor in that building of yours, but also the chiropractic assistant as well as the chiropractic spouse at home. Because I am absolutely convinced, because I know more about chiropractors than their incomes and all about their stats and all that sort of thing than any 15 or 20 or 100 people in the United States or the world. And I know that the people who are successful today have a common thread, a golden thread that weaves through their personalities. I want to enunciate those threads so that you can see what they look like in writing and hearing them, so you can try to be like they. And that's the best way that I've ever taught chiropractors how to suddenly go home and suddenly jump from 3,000 a month to 10,000, suddenly jump from 20 patients a day to 70, and do this in a matter of 60, 90 days. Because I want to enunciate for you the difference between pathological and functional problems, the difference between musculoskeletal and neuromusculoskeletal problems. I want to enunciate to you the difference between possibility and probability. I want to clear up those things so that we can have a clear-cut way that we can heal people by being a certain way. And it is miracle. It's magic. Now, to help me do this, I want you to know and obey and to understand some principles. I have written these principles, and I put my name to it, so I'd call it Parker Principles. For years and years, we called them inner success principles because I saw that word somewhere in the book and I liked it and I used it that way. And it's still Parker Inner Success Principles. Now, I want you to take that sheet of paper that's called the Parker Principles. It's in your packet. And I want you to have that sheet of paper and have it in front of you. All of you now, you have that called the Inner Success Principles, or the Parker Principles. Now, on the very first one, on the front, it says something about there being far greater spiritual and mental laws that are far greater than physical laws. Incidentally, this is not, is it in your white packet? I thought they were given to you separately. No?
No, these were in the white packet.
They were in the white packet? Okay, thank you. Now get this out and get it right in front of you, please. If you don't find yours easily enough, well, then look at the one to your left or the right. Because I want you to, I'm going to have you now to repeat after me a few things. There are 13 of these. Originally, there were 14 of these. I changed them to 13 because I want to represent a baker's dozen. I'm going to start calling it a Parker's dozen. I'm tired giving Baker the credit. Now, we are going to go down these together. You and I are going to play this little game, and we're going to go down these together, and we're going to find out something from looking at these and studying them together. Now, I want you to concentrate on what's being said. I want you to conjure in your imagination what they mean. Will you play this little silly game with me for a minute, a few minutes? Now, the Parker Principles for Success, Health, and Happiness, you'll notice SHH is an acronym, and we use a lot of acronyms. And it starts off by that there are definite spiritual mental laws. All right? Now look at that with me. And I want you to follow me, and I want us to say this together. Then I'm going to say something after that about it. All right? Let's do it together. There are definite mental and spiritual laws. All right, let's try it again. There are, come on, there are definite all right. Now, I want you now to play a little game with me. I want you to take through pure, blind faith for this moment. And most of this you ought to know. The principle that there are unknowns in the phenomena of the universe that are more exacting and more applicable and more truth than those things that we call scientific laws. You know, we can take certain things and put them under a microscope and put certain chemicals with them, and we can always expect that this and that will happen. Now, science says that if the probability is knowable, or the predictability is knowable, then it becomes a science. Now, I want you now to just theorize that there are some science in the way that you think and in the way that you feel. I want you to now just try to picture a little mental picture that I can take my feelings, I can describe, define, and decide my feelings. I can decide whether I want to hate somebody or love somebody, and I want to do this right now. And I'm going to take my mind and let it conjure an attitude in me, and because I'm that way, the aura and the atmosphere around me has a molecular alteration. Now, we're going to take that as a theory. Now, that's based upon the statement that there are definite spiritual and mental laws that are far more exacting than physical laws. Were you ever in the company of Clarence Gonstead? Did you ever have the opportunity to walk through with him and let him drag that crippled leg through these 3 clinic rooms where he adjusted people in that horror? I followed Clarence Gonstead in 1949, 51, 52, 54, 56, 58, 59, 2 or 3 times, throughout his office. I studied Clarence Gonstead in his eyeballs and the lift of his upper lip and every little phrase that he had, and tape recorded him way before you ever knew who he was, because I wanted to be able to fit him together with this ultimate of what I've now chosen to call healing consciousness. Clarence Gonstead could heal people across the street because he possessed a mystique and a charisma that commanded 100% hope and expectancy from a patient the very moment the patient walked in the door. Now, of course, his reputation preceded him. His recommendation preceded him. But again, because he was as he was, that part was part and parcel of his whole total development. Consequently, I want you to now understand and accept and put more faith, confidence, and belief in that the spiritual and mental laws, the unscientific philosophical laws, are more exacting when it comes to treating the ills of life than scientific laws are. I want you to be a flip-flop right now, and I want you to look at it from that point of view for a minute. All right? Now, if you've got your frame of reference there, then let's look at number 2. Look at it with me. Concentrate, don't daydream. Think. Let's read it together. My success, SHH, all right, now realize here that you can deliberately decide and should be aware in the process of growing up a healing consciousness that you want to pay attention to what you think about, the way you act, and how you feel the rest of today, tonight, when you awaken tomorrow, and the rest of the days of this seminar, until you go out and get on an airplane, go home, and finally arrive in your old comfortable chair Sunday evening. I want you to be aware of what you think about, the way you act, and how you feel. I want each one of these things that you think about, act, and feel, I want you to reflect upon them as being naturally right. I want you as an experiment and as a study and as a growth for you. I want you to see any event that happens to you as being one that fulfills your own mission, talent, and destiny that is foreordained and predestined, good or bad. Somebody steals $50 out of your wallet, I want you to turn your head around and look at that and say, well, what am I supposed to learn about that? I don't get to eat for the next 2 days. And I want you to go through this little mental and spiritual exercise, and anything that you think about, then I want you to feel positive about it. I want you to take the philosophy of something always going right, and I want this to be the way you are going to be from now until we're through. Now, this exercise, which I do every seminar, by the way, I turn on a different thing. Some of my staff says, you're a different person in this seminar. When I get back home, I guess they'll think I raise hell all the time or whatever. But the point is that it is an exercise that will remain part of a habit next week and next month and next year. So we're going to now think and act and feel as in a way that we see each present time event as a positive one for our survival And that the end result of it is it's going to improve the beingness in you. Now, when you say beingness, yep. Because I want to build your beingness. And when I build your beingness, simply because you break bread on the type subject that we're breaking bread on. You may not be 100% right, and I may not be 100% right in every little thing I tell you, but because we are breaking bread on the particular subject that we're breaking bread on, you are going to grow very wise in the next 4 days. Following this weekend and experience, you are going to be more of a healer. You know, you go to college and you learn to be able. You come to me and I teach you to be capable. There's a difference in ability and capability. Ability is knowing a fact. Capability is knowing what to do with that fact. I'm going to teach you that. It's a profound study. Some ways it doesn't come to making sense altogether. When a person has one trip or two or even 9 or 10, that's why there are people who've been here 40 and 50 times. That's why I continue to work at it. But I want you to pay attention, because as you pay attention and reflect upon what I think about, the way I act and how I feel, because of that, you are going to grow months and years ahead. Now, what's it going to do for you Monday morning? I'll tell you what's going to do. When that new patient comes in Monday and you sit down, you are going to ask precisely the right word. You are going to open up with what's going to be called in the report of findings that I'm going to give you later, the ABCs of report of findings. A is for accept. B is for bond. C is for credibility. D is for dependability. E is for efficiency. F is for finding out. And we're going to follow principle all the way down the line. When we come to D, we're going to say a line. We're going to say a phrase. And that phrase is going to be one that's going to elicit a concept from that patient that's going to say, well, he's certainly dependable. And when we say our line under C, it's going to say, I certainly believe he's credible. And when we say our line under E, the patient's going to feel, certainly has an efficient operation. And we're going to get across those images, because it's that image, it's that symbol that is the end product. And when you put these symbols all together, you have an individual who is fulfilling his own mission, talent, and destiny. And when you go in and pop that subluxation, it's just a matter of doing what comes naturally right, because it's all foreordained. He's already ready to get well. All you have to do is just turn the switch. It's all worked out because you worked it right. So when I say what I think about, the way I act, and how I feel, we have purposes in that. Now look at this again. Look at your paper. Number 3. Now come on. Work with me and put life into what we're talking about. Number 3. My inner success. SHH. Let's look at your drawing with this kind of a theory. God runs the world. I have a little piece of philosophy that I popped out 25 years ago when somebody said something. I've done everything and I don't know what to do now. I said, when your back is to the wall, you have no other answer. There's been death, divorce, or whatever it is. Then you have 3 sentences to say. God runs the world. It ain't my problem. To hell with it. That's it. And then go to sleep. All right. Now, picture this piece of philosophy. God runs the world. God creates 4.25 billion units. This unit God has down to teach practice building the chiropractors. Now, he is supposed to live 69, I hope 94. And this individual has subluxations in the spine and in the mind. But if he did not have any subluxations, from birth to burial, he would fulfill God's foreordained mission, talent, and destiny in his existence, in that track of life, track of time. Okay, now what makes him not live out his life? Subluxation. Where does subluxation occur? Quantity spine, quality mind. If he has spine, quantity spine, quality mind, how do we correct it? By doing and by being. We do and be by feel. So the way that we correct it is that we be. In our thinking and feeling world, we be, and we conjure up an attitude and a philosophy and state our beingness as it was planned by God. You see, the moment you say at any given time, 3:45 p.m., Thursday, right now, this present time is perfect. I am at the right place, at the right time. I'm thinking the right thoughts. I have no fear of the future. I have no worry over the past. I have no anxiety over the present. I am precisely on track of where God means for me to be. And that attitude opens the door of wisdom from the inner mind, because it is the type thinking, feeling that was original for your life. Being that way, taking that attitude and letting life express itself that way, then that eliminates the subluxations qualitatively, so that suddenly into your life will be brought precisely what it is to fulfill God's mission, talent, and destiny for you. By that perfect tranquility, by that perfect acceptance, then there is an inflooding of whatever it is that may not be exactly like it's supposed to be, but because you pictured it and accepted it exactly like it's supposed to be, then God put you in track of your own predestined, foreordained mission, talent, and destiny. Anytime you get off key, anytime you get ahead of life or behind life, stop. Take the posture that you're in harmony that minute, and then things around you will adjust to that, and you'll be put back on the track of time for you, for your own natural rightness. Now, what happens at 10:45 in the morning whenever suddenly you're behind, or suddenly you're in the head, or suddenly you realize you haven't had a new patient in 10 days, or suddenly there's a great big bill coming in as bigger than you was, and your bank balance is getting low? What do you suddenly do? You suddenly get back in harmony with yourself, with your own predestined, foreordained mission, talent, and destiny. And when that happens, then your beingness is in perfect balance and perfect harmony, and you have then and there, that instance, become a healer, because you are like God. You are like universal intelligence. Your quality interferences have now, in this second, been removed because you have established perfect faith, confidence, and belief in your product, service, and ideas, or at least in your mission, talent, and destiny. And during that minute, there is an inflooding of the wisdom and the guidance that God Almighty, if you're a religionist, creates and puts to you. You can find this in the Bible. It's said in a different way. That makes you a healer. Now, when people come within your world and get within your aura, when you are in that stage, these people are likewise placed in harmony with their own beingness. And when that happens, headaches drop away. Quality interferences drop by the wayside. And whenever they got quality interferences, you will, because you are now in harmony, you will run that hand down and find that subluxation. You will spot it and you will adjust it because it's already predestined, because you are in harmony with your own mission, talent, destiny. You are in harmony with God. You are operating as God, so to speak. Doing this, being in the state of healing consciousness, you will reach over and adjust. You couldn't get the wrong bone. You couldn't push it the wrong way. You couldn't have the wrong thought because you've removed fear of the future, worry of the past, anxiety for the present. You have become now. You have become God. You have become, not really the way to say it. Us old Baptists don't say it that way. But I'm thinking that I'm communicating to you. But you have become a healer. And what I want to do, and what I've done for 30 years, and one of the big reasons that my brown beggars go home and there's a flood of new patients, and these people come, and you start healing with everybody coming in mass, and your chiropractic assistants contribute to this, and she comes in, and she just puts out the right words to say. There's 1,000 punchlines in the textbook and the total 3-phase basic, advanced, and graduate seminar training, but she'll pick out the right words to say because she's in harmony with all life and all wisdom. And whenever that moment comes, people walk in and they are healed in advance. It is predestined and foreordained that that's what's going to happen. You couldn't possibly miss the route. You could adjust the toe, and then because the act itself was a predestined healing consciousness act, the fourth dorsal would be slipped and the person would be well. Now that's the kind of thing we're looking to happen. And now I'm talking about the quality interference correction. I'm talking about healing consciousness. You know, I want to make all chiropractors, all chiropractic assistants, all chiropractic spouses healers. Because by virtue of the philosophy of life and healing, all we have to do is to take a patient and place him in his own mission, talent, and destiny. That's all anybody can do. There may be times when his own mission, talent, and destiny is death or even misery. But it nonetheless must be fulfilled in that way, because otherwise you're fighting against an impossible situation. So our own purpose is to establish ourselves that way, and when we are that way, by perfect example, that's the way those that come within our environment will also be. What do you think about the way you act and how you feel? And a reflection on that tells us that because we see this power in the islets of Langerhans and the pancreas. Where did I have it last time? Spleen? I moved it around a little bit. Because this intelligence got there without interruption, this person is in a state of being well. Now, of course, you've got a distinguishing mark between functional and pathological, and I'm going to get into that in a moment. But I want you to realize, as far as the functional representation of this power, that once there's no quantity-quality interference, that this person is in a state of beingness of perfection. And when that's true, health should be there, and you shouldn't have